Hello, I'm going to be making a chicken parmesan now. It's a really simple recipe. Anyone can do it. I just started cooking recently myself. That's why I titled these videos Beginning Cooks. So don't be intimidated by this recipe. I don't think you will. But don't be intimidated by any of my recipes. Or, well, they're not my recipes, but any of the food I make, because I don't think I'm good at cooking, and I've cooked a lot of things that have turned out good recently. So, okay, to make this chicken parmesan, the first thing you need to do, preheat your oven to 350 for this recipe. It's important to preheat. Make sure it's heated up all the way. Okay, to make the coating for this chicken, you're going to need grated Parmesan, breadcrumbs, and Italian seasoning. So, you need half a cup of the breadcrumbs and half a cup of the Parmesan. Put them in a bowl, I'll mix them all together in a bowl. You don't have to be super exact on these measurements, because this isn't exactly baking. Baking's more precise. Cooking is kinda, you go off flavor. If this is a fresh can, make sure you refrigerate the breadcrumbs after you use them. Oh, this is... it smells good. I like Parmesan a lot. I try not to say Parmesan. Some people say it that way. I think that's my accent. I don't know. I try to say Parmesan, but it's been tough. Half a cup of this. Parmesan seems like it'll bunch together a lot, which I don't really like, but it's still good. I'm always really messy when I cook. I get yelled at a lot for leaving huge messes, but make sure when you cook, you either have someone clean up or you clean up yourself. Yeah, see, these are huge chunks. Half a cup of breadcrumbs, half a cup of Parmesan. Then, according to the recipe I'm using, which I looked up on the internet, don't ever be afraid, look up recipes on the internet all the time. Just make sure they have good reviews, or they sound like they make sense, This takes 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and our Italian seasoning is Emerald. Bam! Bam! I can't cook as good as him, but I wish I could. I'm getting there, hopefully. Oof. Okay, just 1 teaspoon of that. 1 teaspoon of that. I'm going to try to break some of these huge boulders of Parmesan. Mix it together good. Smells good. Smells Italian. Alright. Next, you're going to have to take an egg and beat it in a cup. Not a cup, in a bowl, a separate bowl. If you've ever made chicken before, or wondered how they do it, basically you take the chicken raw before you cook it. You dip it in egg or water or something so that it will become sticky, and then you put it in the breading. Beat it around a couple times so it picks it up, and then you bake it. So that's what we're using to make this stick to the chicken, an egg. Okay. Get your whisk. They say with eggs, the best way to crack them is to do 1 hard hit. When I was a kid, I always used to do the weak little roll it around all slow, but really you should just go 1 hard hit, open it, get most of it out, throw the shell away. So if there's a piece of the shell in it, you can always fish it out with a spoon or fork. So you should whisk the egg good. Whisking it there. It looks decent to me. I mean, I've never made this recipe before. That's the point of my videos, is to show you that anyone can do an okay job cooking. Once I do it for fun and for the food, so it looks good enough to me. I mean, that's gonna, get the chicken wet and sticky, so that's what you're going for if you want stuff to stick to it. Next, I'm gonna cut the chicken for this dish. This is just cheap store-bought chicken. Typically, I would like to get organic chicken because it's a lot healthier for you, but we are being cheap. So I think it's important to wash the chicken before you cut it. I think most people would agree with that. Actually, looking back at this now, I probably should have used a bigger cutting board, but that's alright. I'll just cut it. Now make sure after you cut this chicken, you don't use this cutting board for anything else. There's the risk of salmonella and other things crossing over onto the food. What I like to do with the chicken is, I like to cut it into tiny pieces. Some people like, you know, big chicken breast, which is what we're using for this recipe, chicken breast, white meat, but I like to cut it into tiny pieces. It makes it easier to cook that way, it makes it safer, and also, when you're cutting off the fat, it really helps if you cut it into tiny pieces. You can get all the little fat off. The white part, the fat, I don't like it on my chicken personally, so I like to get rid of lots of it. So they say also when you cook, you shouldn't hold it like this. You should, you know, curl it kind of. So that way it's safer for you. This chicken didn't have too much fat. Here's some. I look like I'm being kind of wasteful, but I really don't want a lot of fat on this chicken. So, oh, there's a piece on the end there. Ooh. Look at that. I'm sorry. Would you want to eat that? No. I mean, fat might give some flavor, but I think this is going to taste good with the breading, regardless. So, alright, I'm going to cut this into... I'm going to cut these pieces somewhat big. I usually cut them real tiny, but... now if you would prefer to leave the pieces big, just make sure they cook all the way through. If you have a digital thermometer, chicken should be 160 before it's safe to consume. But my family doesn't care that these are going to be cut into tiny pieces. So. Okay, there we go. Okay, we've got our cut chicken. We've got the egg so that, you know, the breading will stick. Now we're going to bake this on a pan, so just take a baking sheet. The recipe called for 9 by 13, but, you know, any decent size would do. Make sure you spray it with Pam or some non-stick, whatever. Now hopefully this works well. I got limited space on this counter. Taking the pieces. Can you see that? Yeah, okay, good, good. Dip them in the batter real quick, then put it into the breading. Really push it around in the breading a lot. That looks good. Don't be afraid to get tons of breading on it, because that's what makes it taste good. So, I think. Okay, that piece looks pretty good. Put it on there. Alright, what do you guys think? Good? I think it looks pretty good. So I'm going to put it in the oven. I always do bottom rack in mine, I just think it cooks better. And then I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to check on it in 22 minutes. That's how hot of an oven I have. Alright. Smells good, I mean, looks alright, but let's see what this... It says 1. Yep, it's good. Alright, you can take these bad boys out. Whew. Yeah, now make sure you burn yourself. I burnt myself a lot. I work fast food, so it's hot, I'll tell you. Those look pretty good, huh? They smell alright. Some of the breadcrumbs fell. They burnt a little, but that's bound to happen. When you taste a dish, it's always good to critique yourself, you know, because you can improve it next time, make it better. This tastes good. I would add more Parmesan though. I love my cheese, so alright. Good luck if you try this.